Hey guys, I am the Comics Kid 2099, and by the time you see this video, I have had this pile of books that you see in front of you for about a week. Last week, all of last week's videos were recorded way ahead of time and were scheduled to upload because for a couple of days I knew I was going to be out of town, so I wanted to go ahead and just have all of the videos up. So this collection video is already about a week old by the time you're seeing this, so probably I'll have read some of these by the time you see this video. Also, we finally moved my sister back in, so I will not be going on any more 4-hour drives to go visit her, well, ever, at least for a very long time, unless she moves somewhere else that's 4 hours away. So, with that means that I will no longer be doing these periodic haul videos, at least for a very long time. As a family, we may still decide, hey, we're going to go a couple hours away and do some shopping there, and I may get a bunch of graphic novels on those trips, but I will not be getting as many. So this may be the last haul video you see for a long while. Also, if you've ever seen any of my videos where I'm sitting in front of my bookshelf, you know that I have a lot of books that I have not yet read. I have been trying to read more of those books, trying to read at least as many as I get. That's not really been working out because I got 10 books here. Obviously, I didn't read all of these on the day that I got them, but I am trying to read more than what I take in so that my piles do not get even larger. So anyway, with all of that being said, I guess I'll go ahead and show you what I got. This is Eternals, To Slay a God. I saw who did it earlier, but I don't remember. It's the Knopfs, I think. A husband and wife writing team, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Charles and Daniel Knopf. Actually, they may be brothers. And then Daniel Acuna. I like Acuna's art from what I've seen. This may take place after Neil Gaiman's miniseries, and I had bought Neil Gaiman's Eternals a while back, a month or so ago, and I more or less enjoyed it. So I'm kind of in an Eternals mood now, so I wanted to see what this was about. Maybe it's going to be good, maybe not, I don't know, but I'm interested in these characters after reading the Gaiman miniseries, so hopefully this kind of picks up where the Gaiman miniseries left off. I don't know, I haven't even started it yet. I got two really short Elseworld stories. This one is called Batman and Demon, A Tragedy. It's written by Alan Grant. I really am a fan of his work from the 80s and early 90s on Batman comics. And like I said, this is a short story. I think I got this for like $3, so that's not a bad deal. Don't really know what it's about, but I'm assuming it's like a medieval story that has the Demon and Batman in it. Superman Kal. This is another Elseworld story. This one is written by Dave Gibbons. You may not know that name. He drew The Watchmen, and he's also a writer in some instances. He wrote this, and this was drawn by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. He did some stuff on Teen Titans in the 80s. That's mainly where I know his name. This is another short Elseworld story. Got this one, I guess, for about $3-ish also. And I don't know much about it. It looks like Superman is a knight here, so that should be fun. Most of the rest of these books that I got were in between $6 and $8. None of them were none of them were $8. They were all less than $8, but it was in that price range. So I felt like I came away with a pretty good deal on all of these, because later I looked them up on Amazon, and I think every single one of them, I got them cheaper at the store than I could have on Amazon if you included shipping. So I was pretty psyched about what all I got. This first one, Superman, They Saved Luthor's Brain. Now, I really, really love this cover. It looks like a movie poster from like the 1950s or something. I thought this was going to be a story because, first of all, you may be confused about what's going on here. In the mid-80s, they rebooted Superman with the Man of Steel miniseries, and in this version of Superman, Lex Luthor was a good 30 years older than Lois and Clark, and he had red hair, and then he was basically bald because he was old. He lost his hair, and he was just bald and fat and old, and eventually he dies of cancer, or actually he has cancer and then he commits suicide. That's a spoiler for one of the stories from the late 80s, early 90s. And so then you're thinking, okay, Lex Luthor is gone. But then later you see a younger Lex Luthor who's about the same age as Lois and Clark, and it turns out they saved Luthor's brain. He his brain implanted into a clone of his body that was younger. And so that's how they kind of got Lex to be about the same age as Lois and Clark. And that was the same Lex that you see on up until today. That body was the younger Lex. This is not a story about him getting a brain transplant, though. This is actually a collection of various stories over the course of like 6 years. Like, one of the earliest stories here is from Man of Steel issue 4, I think. And then like the latest story is from 1991. So it goes from like 85 to 1991. There's still an issue here where I think we see he's gotten the clone and everything, but it's not like that's the entirety of this book. But I'm still looking forward to reading this. You know, nice thick story there. Superman Bizarro's World. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of Bizarro. He's kind of hit and miss with me. I can take him in extremely small doses. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to receive him when he's the focus of an entire story. We'll just have to see. Overall, I find the character to be fairly annoying when he speaks, and just in general, I don't find him very interesting. But this was a Superman book, and I've been in a Superman mood lately, as you'll see from the rest of this pile, so I couldn't resist myself. The Trial of Superman. You'll notice I don't really know a lot about any of these. I just know that this is a lot of stuff from the 1990s, so that looks very Jack Kirby-ian, that pose and the style of this machine and the chain thing. Very Jack Kirby pose. This is also probably the biggest one here. It's huge. And like I say, I don't know a lot about the contents of any of these, just that it's from the 90s. I don't have a whole lot of Superman 90s stuff, so this will be a nice little injection into my Superman collection. Superman, The Wedding and Beyond. All I really know about The Wedding is that Superman and Lois got engaged in like 1991, and then there was a TV show, Lois and Clark, and that starred Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. It lasted 4 years, and before that show even started, the people in the TV show, they said, whoa, 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 you can't get these two married in the comics until it happens in the TV show. Which is insane if you think about it. That is literally insane. And so anyway, the people in the comics were like, okay, we have to find a way to keep these two from getting married other than having a 6-year engagement, because at the time they had no idea how long Lois and Clark was going to last. So that's where the Death of Superman story happened. They killed Superman briefly, and that basically prolonged this story. So this happened in like the late-ish 90s, like 97 or so, something like that. Basically, it happened because Lois and Clark was finally over. And that's about, you know, all I know, and that's really more of a history lesson, not so much about this story. I don't know much about the story other than they get married. And then a controversial one. I know at least one person who has commented on my videos before. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name right off the top of my head. One person was very, very against this story. The story where Superman has the electric blue costume. Let me see if I can find... Nope. There was a... It should be somewhere in here. Or maybe not. There it is. Okay. Superman wore this blue and white costume and had electric powers for a little while in the 90s, and a lot of people really hated it. One person in particular who has commented on my videos, like I said, I don't remember your name off the top of my head, and I don't have a problem with it. It's not a great costume. It's definitely not as timeless as that costume, but just in theory, I don't have a problem with Superman changing his costume. When Action Comics restarted with the New 52, we saw that Superman had a white t-shirt and blue jeans and a red cape pinned to his shirt. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought it was a pretty cool costume. This costume, not a great costume, but I don't have a problem with the idea of Superman changing costumes and his powers changing a little bit. What could be the problem here, it could just be that this story is not very great. I haven't read it, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the story is probably going to be a little bit messy, but I don't understand all the hatred that people have toward this era of Superman. I don't entirely understand why people hate it so much. I mean, at the end of the day, Superman is still the same character. He still stands for truth, justice, and the American way. It's not like, say, Superior Spider-Man, where it's an entirely different character in the same costume. And I'm not dissing Superior Spider-Man. I know some people really hate it and some people really love it. I'm just saying, with that thing, I could understand if you're a fan of Peter Parker, you're not going to like Superior Spider-Man because it's not Peter Parker in that costume. This is still Clark Kent. So I'm not dead set against this sort of thing happening. I think it could be a fun little read. I'm glad that Superman doesn't have that costume now. It looks very dated, and I don't mean like it looks like something that a character from Youngblood would wear. It looks like something from the 90s, but not as bad as like a character from Youngblood, for example. So that's my opinion on that, having not read it yet. And the last book that I got, Final Crisis, Legion of Three Worlds. Now, I've been in a Legion of Superheroes mood lately. I haven't really done any videos on it in a while, but I have been reading several different Legion stories, and this one, I originally wasn't planning on getting it. Like, if you had asked me 4 months ago if I was planning on getting this, I would have said probably not. I'm not a gigantic fan of Geoff Johns. Most of the stuff that he's done is kind of lukewarm for me. It doesn't really do it for me. I can accept that this guy is fantastic at, no matter what he writes, he's good at getting people to read what he writes. So if nobody in the world is interested in the Legion of Superheroes, and Geoff Johns said, I'm going to write a Legion of Superheroes series, people would start reading it because it's Geoff Johns. That's a very strong power, if you will. Someone who has that kind of power at their hands, I respect that because they can make people interested in characters that originally they didn't care about. I cannot tell you how many people would say, oh, Aquaman used to suck, but now that Geoff Johns has written him, he's really awesome. Which, you guys, if you've seen my rant on Aquaman that I did a few months ago, you know my opinions on that. But I'm more interested in this because of the Legion of Superheroes, less so because of Geoff Johns. I'm worried that this is going to be something where we have 200 characters and none of them get any screen time. It's weird because if you don't really know a lot about the Legion, basically there's 3 different versions of the team. The first team appeared sometime in the late 1950s. They were guest stars in a Superboy story, and eventually Superboy's ongoing stories became Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and eventually Superboy was phased out of the stories, and then it just became the Legion of Superheroes. And that version of the team lasted basically until 1994. And then there was a sort of a reboot going on at DC Comics called 0 Hour, A Crisis in Time. That story didn't really reboot anything except for Hawkman and the Legion of Superheroes. So that original team of Legion, that whole history and everything, was completely done away with, and we got a second version of the team. It would be kind of like if you had the Ultimate Universe that started, but no more Marvel 616. It would be kind of like that. And then that version of the team got rebooted about 8-ish years later, I think. And then we got what people call the 3-boot version, which is, I guess, these guys over here. It's really hard for me to, just looking at pictures of each team, it's really hard for me to figure out which version goes with which era. And then the 3-boot lasted maybe 50 or 60 issues, and then around the time of Infinite Crisis, Geoff Johns said, you know what, I don't like either of these reboot versions, so I'm going to bring back the original team from the late 50s to the early 90s. So he did a story called The Lightning Saga. I have not read that story yet. I think it's a crossover with JLA and JSA. He did a story there that brought back the original Legion. And then, this may be a little bit of a spoiler, but I believe it's revealed here, each version of the Legion still exists, and they are each from parallel Earths, which is a cool idea. This way, nobody has to, air quotes, lose their favorite version of the Legion. The problem that I have with that is that you're still losing your favorite version. If you grew up with the 3-boot version or whatever, and you read that for 4 years, and then it goes away, even if Geoff Johns tells you that this version of the Legion still exists on some parallel Earth, it doesn't matter because you're not getting stories about the 3-boot version of the Legion. So it's basically just as good as losing your favorite version of the team anyway. So those are my thoughts on that book. I may enjoy it. It may turn out to be one of my favorite Legion stories of all time. Who knows? But for now, I'm kind of worried that it's going to be all three of these teams together, and there's so many different Legionnaires, like 3 versions of Saturn Girl, 3 versions of Lightning Lad, etc., that none of the characters are going to get any screen time. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see until I read it. And that's all I have here, guys. I didn't buy as much as I have in the past because I only went to technically 2 stores. I went to that warehouse that I've told you about, and I also went to... I just put these out of order. I need to not do that. I went to that warehouse, and I also went to a Books A Million, and that's where I got the Eternals book. I did not go to the comic book shop that was in that town because we were busy moving my sister out, and we didn't have time. So I didn't get as much, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will have a video with a little bit more substance tomorrow, something reviewy probably, and until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.